Hi, Eva here. I'm not in my normal setup in my studio. I'm on a little trip with my daughter. We're in Guadalajara, Mexico, and I brought my watercolor paints along and thought I would try and see if I could find a place to set up and share just a little quick travel sketch with you. And right before I left, I got some new watercolor pencils, Faber-Castell, which I haven't done a review on yet. I'll do that when I get home. I did one earlier on the Caran d'Ache 12 set watercolor pencils that I had bought. And so I wasn't, super enthused. And I thought, well, I should try at least another of the really well-reputed watercolor pencils before I completely dismissed the idea of watercolor pencils. So I got these. I swatched them out, and I also brought my other travel palette that I don't use that often, but I often take it with me on trips. It's a travel watercolor palette, and the colors I have in here are from Mission Gold, and they're very brilliant and bright colors, and I haven't used them for a long time, so I thought I'd give it a go on this little experiment. And I can talk more about that travel palette in another video. But anyway, what I did was I grabbed one of my photos that I took from our little excursion last week to the old part of Guadalajara, and they have, just like in Spain, churches all over the place. So I just sketched out very quickly with my watercolor pencils. I used the light blue, which is called light ultramarine, for the church part, and then I used a little tiny bit of their burnt ochre for indicating one of the palm trees. And I decided I don't want to put any more detail in now. I want to get a little bit of a sky in, and then I'll go in and put a little bit of detail into the building part, but keeping it very loose. That's my plan. So let's see how we get along with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water on here and just flow out, if I can, those pencil lines that I made. This particular church had these beautiful white towers, I guess you call them spires, whatever. So already noticing that I don't think that these colors flow nearly as well as the ones I tried out from Caran d'Ache. At least that's my very first impression. Let's see here. Get them to flow a little bit. So since they don't flow very well, I think I'm going to go over here in this palette and grab one of the blues. Let's do this one here, which I think is their ultramarine deep from Mission Gold. And it's not really the blue that I see here in Guadalajara, so I think I'll go in and try this one here. How about that? Yeah, it's a little bit more of a green tint to it. That's it's called Cobalt Blue in the Mission Gold, and it really does not look anything like Cobalt Blue in other brands, but never mind, it doesn't matter so much. So I think I'm just going to run some of that color in here on the top and here, down in here. Do a little negative painting already, and I didn't wet the paper. That might have been a mistake. The climate here in Guadalajara is also fairly dry, even though we've had a lot of thunderstorms at night. Of course, I think their rainy season is starting now. So that is that. And I'm thinking I want my light to be here from the left. I'm just going down here, just so I can have my shapes isolated. And hopefully I won't get too many hard lines. More water. A little bit more color in here on this side. And light's coming from here, and I'm fine with a little variation in the sky here. I'm going to go all the way down here, and you know, the sky gets lighter as you go further down towards the horizon line. So I want my skylight down there and darker there, and let's run in a little bit more color here. Of course, we also want something to set off those nice white towers. Goes down here a little bit. Yeah. And maybe see a little bit on that side. It'll get covered anyway. All right, good enough. And since we have it a little modeled, I'm going to go in with some paper towel. No, it's not paper towel, it's a Kleenex. And just kind of indicate some of those little clouds that are building up during the day, and they turn into thunderstorms in the evening. Okay, so now I kind of already got my buildings isolated and the first layer of color on. Okay, I let the sky dry, fixed a couple of shapes. And again, this is supposed to be a quick sketch, so I have to keep telling myself that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to just indicate with the burnt ochre that some of these walls here, they are made out of brick. So I'm going to put a little bit of markings on, just some little. They're made of, you know, I shouldn't say bricks. It's like granite. And just get a little scribble on there. And so on this tower was also this kind of brick stuff. And just scribble on there a little bit. And on this one back here, that's kind of behind. So there's that. And I think on this one too. There. And so let's get those isolated. And I'm going to just, so I have to decide, I decided my light was coming from here. So this part will be in shadow. You can see a little bit of that side wall. And I'm just trying to smear out this color a little bit, just so I can, I'm blocking in, I guess, is what you would call it. Blocking in. And just, these are like little mental notes to myself. And this here will receive light because the light's coming from there, but then I'm also thinking that this will cast a shadow on it, so we'll see how we deal with that. And I'm just trying to get to know these pencils also, and I don't know if it's my brushes are very soft or they just don't flow out very well. Doesn't matter so much. So there's that. And then I am going to go in and mark here is a, and then here will be a palm tree. It's coming from out here. This is a palm tree, and I think I want to put maybe one more here. And they're not always like completely straight. They often have little curves on them. I've had plenty of opportunity to observe that while I've been here. And here's another one that could come up here behind the church. And maybe I even have, I don't know if I want to do it there, but this one's coming from in front. It could come up there. And this one would come up quite a bit like that. And they have these prongs, the dead, some of the dead stuff is coming off. The dead prongs coming off a little bit here. And I don't know, it might even be too early that I put that in. All right, so let's go to some more serious color, and I'll have to go over here to my palette. I think this is a burnt sienna. And you know how I always like to turn things around, so I'm going to turn that around and put a little burnt sienna on, and then I'm going to put some of the blue in here that I used in the sky. There. Just to gray it down a little bit, because this is in further back, so I don't want it too warm. And this side here is away from the light, so let's put some of that color on there. Yeah, I can tell. It's probably too early that I started doctoring around with those palm trees. First things first, Eva. And then here, I want to give it a little bit more warmth. And I actually want to even use a little bit of a more yellow color. Bring some of that sunshine in. The sun is very strong here. And darken it up a little bit as we go down. A little bit of the blue in there. And put that in here. Watch out that it doesn't turn green on me. So, like that. I can actually just go across, doesn't matter, because these trees, they'll be darker. So let's just go across here. A little bit of the blue down here. So there's that. And then I want to put some of that really nice gold on here. Light is hitting it. Put a little bit on here. Put a little bit on here. And maybe up here and here. And once I get into a painting, I honestly, as you can probably tell, I don't worry so much about what the reference looks like. This is my impression of Guadalajara. And my impression of Guadalajara so far is, it reminds me a lot of Spain. I walked the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, if any of you are familiar with that. It's a pilgrimage in Spain. I walked that back in 2009, so a long time ago. But it's still, you know, in my mind. And still have the impressions from there. And Guadalajara reminded me quite a bit of a lot of those little, the villages and the towns and the cities I walked through on that pilgrimage. And it's, warm climate, Guadalajara especially, even more so. And lots and lots and lots of gorgeous, gorgeous old churches. I really feel that is, put a little bit of shadow underneath here. And in here, push that back and maybe make a little shadow shape here to make that go forward. Get some of those white sparkles out of there. Little darkness underneath here. And there. Okay. Gonna leave it at that. So everything is dry again. And I think I'm gonna take a smaller brush. I think this is number 4, round brush. And I need to put a little bit of shadow on the side of the white buildings here. So let's just, I did a little bit of that blue I had from the sky and toned it down with a little bit of that burnt sienna I had here in this puddle. So I'm just gonna get it on, and I'm at the same time I'm gonna go up underneath here, for instance, where it'll be casting a little bit of a shadow. Have something going on like that here too. So I have to remember this is just a quick sketch. It's not going to be perfect, I know. So just reminding myself of that. It's just a quick little sketch. So there's that. And pull it out like this. And soften the edges here. And so we're just trying to get a little bit of shape on these things. There. And moving across. Here. Just turn it over. I have something weird going on here that I'll have to look at later. Here, I mean, it looks kind of funky. But we'll deal with that later. I'm thinking I probably will be going in with some pen work in the end. There's that. A little bit more underneath here as if it's white thing there. And then moving right along, let's do a little bit on the, it's a little too brown. There, this side. And I'm just gonna carry on and not worry so much about each little detail, just kind of get the little shape on them. And here. And there we go. And back here. I'm going to do it like this. There. Okie dokie. And get a little bit also on this side of these things. And I also have, I have white. That might actually come in handy to fix some of these shapes that I didn't get so perfect. And see up here, this thing. There we go. And then I was thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to go in and maybe I'll do like this. And put just a little bit with a brown pencil in here. Just a little bit of a foliage there. And then this part needs to be darkened and grayed down. There. And that's really what I wanted to do underneath here too. Let's see what we can do. I don't know if you can hear, have a little Mexican music going in the background because there's some guys, I think, working in a condo next to mine. So they're listening to Mexican music. And a little bit more over here. There. I'm just trying to divide up the space here is really what I'm trying to do. And there needs to be some more definition here too. There. Okay. And then I think it's time to get some of those palm trees in. So let's see if the brown here will work for that. And I'm pressing quite hard because in my past I feel that they have been really too wimpy altogether. And I have one that's coming up from behind here, behind the buildings, and I have this one here that's coming down here from down here somewhere. And I could even have one coming up here. I think would be kind of nice behind. So let's get a little bit of water on. So that was the brown pencil that I used, watercolor pencil. So there's that. And I want to give it some of these these wilted ones that are on the trunks hanging down. They haven't been trimmed yet. So do that. So there's that. Get that little wispiness. And I'm going to do a little bit on this one back here. And then this one. So again, I'm just using my number 4 brush. And then it's got some of these little wispies. You can drag that pigment out there. And this little one that I just came up with. And that will also have some little wispy things there. Okay. There's 5 of those. Uneven numbers, as you know, are always better than even. And then let's get some of the palm fronds on. And I really don't think that this is a good color. I don't have a better one. I have the light green. Most of them are going to hang down, weight down, they're weight down. And I might take some of the light green. And then I think I'm going to take some orange to put in there. Or maybe some of the burnt ochre would be a good one. Just to get that green toned down a little bit so that it's a more appropriate green. Let's see. We'll just do on this one and see how that goes. And we might have to go in with some of the watercolors from my palette, because this here is not going to cut it. It's a very unnatural green. Both of the greens are very unnatural greens, I think. Look at that. Emerald green and then the light green. The light green is a little bit better, but they're definitely not ideal. So, but it'll be a little underpainting, and I'll go in and fix them with paint out of my palette. I'm actually going to dab some of it off because I really don't like it. Alrighty, so let's see what we can find here. Those of you that have been painting with me before, you know that I'm not a big fan of greens out of the tube. So let's see, I got a little bit here, now we're talking. And here's a little bit of the burnt sienna. Here are some greens, they look much more like what I'm after. So let's see. A little dry brushing, be excellent. And I think I can work on top of what I got. That's much better. And it's okay to have a little bit of that other green in the background. A bit more water on. So here. And I'm going to do some here. There are several kinds of palm trees. There's a whole bunch, I'm sure, but here in Guadalajara, I see quite a few of the coconut type. They have the smooth trunks like these here, and then we have, I think they're palmetto palms. They have much rougher trunks. I'm just going in and putting a little bit of darkness on the shadow side of these here. And so I'm still not 100% happy with that. This one here, and this one here. Make sure that it kind of disappears behind. And then up here, there we go. That looks kind of palm-like. And actually here I got it so solid. Scrape in with a little bit of a credit card. There. And then we have one more left. This one over here. Ooh. Needed to be behind. Well, I'll fix that later, I guess. This one disappears. It can go in front of that one, but it can disappear behind this one. There. Okay, so there's a little indication of those palm trees. And then we needed to fix here. This needs to be white. See if I can lift it out. There. That's good. Okay, so let's see. It's beginning to get a little bit of a shape on. And then let's try and use our little burnt ochre to get some of these little, there's some little things on here, you know, little decorations. So they are kind of a gold colored. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on. And this one had some like that. This comes like this. There. And then I want to see if I can get my little brush and then just put a little bit of water on. And then there's a bunch of like windows and stuff like that. So there's some. So I'm using the black pen, watercolor pencil. So I'm going to start out here and see how that works. Okay. It's okay, I guess. And let's try and see. Just trying to get some of those archways and windows and whatnot in. Yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of surprised how it does not flow very well. These watercolor pencils, they do not flow very well. Dab that off. A little texture on there. Yeah, I don't know. Just doesn't seem to be very flowy, so I might have to just use some of my paint over here, and I might go in and get some of the indigo and darken it up with a bit of red. Let's see here, let's put some of that in. That's much better. This one needs to be much more black. This goes down like this. And this one also goes down like that. All right, so we get a little bit more shape on them. And then here, and I'm not looking at my reference for this. I'm just kind of making it up. You know, I am, you know, I have put a couple of photos in that is my inspiration, but I'm not really, right now I'm not looking at them at all. So I'm just going from memory and impression. You know, I'm not about, you know, I don't care if this is going to look like exactly like any of these churches. So some of them have ovals, I noticed. So it's just a loose impression. I think just putting these dark things in will hopefully help give them that feel. And then here, a little darkness in there. I could put a little bit like that. So there's all sorts of little things going on. And put this here. There we go. I can see something's bothering me here. It's too much straight there. And let's grab one of the darker greens there. Okay. And then maybe I can go in and do some little scribblies on there. Let's see. It'll wash out. Not really. Yeah, see how these pencils, they don't really move. They don't move much. Really have to scrub on them. So, let's go dab that off. And instead, I might go in with a little bit of a dirt color from my palette here. Leftover colors I'm using. This is Bird Chin I have over here in the corners. That's a wonderful color to kind of dirty up most other colors. So I'm just trying to give this a little bit more texture. I think it's probably pretty good. All right. And then I'm just going to let it dry a little bit and then evaluate and then put a little bit of line work on. I found a couple of my micron pens. I have the 0.3 and I also have a 0.1 here that I think I'll use them to just kind of give a little bit more structure to this little sketch. And when you do this, when you do some pen work on your little sketches, make sure you don't outline every single detail, because then it really doesn't end up looking all that great, in my opinion. So restraint, just a few lines here and there to just kind of maybe give a little bit more information to a loose little sketch like this, just so people know what the heck they're looking at. This here looks more or less like the Leaning Tower in Pizza, but whatever. Here we go. Just a little like there. And this. There we go. And little palm trees there. They could need a little bit of help. And I am going to use, so of course all these buildings, they do have some crosses at the top. We'll make it black instead. Nothing wrong with that. And I want a little cross on over here too. There. And then here's, this is kind of obscured so you can't really see it. Okay. And maybe I'll put some little birdies. There's lots of pigeons flying around here. There. Maybe one over here. There you go. And here, inside this cross, can I paint that white possibly? Yeah. There. And I can, okay, so I can use this white pen. Now I finally found a use for it. This one I can actually use to just tidy up some lines. So that's nice. So here, just put a little bit in, tidy up some of these lines here. I think we're going to call this a day. And there you have it. A little tiny, quick sketch of Guadalajara and the impression I have from the old town of Guadalajara. And I feel maybe one more little thing I needed to. There. But there you have it. Quick little sketch. These little sketches that you're doing when you're traveling, they are not meant to be masterpieces. And I can tell you from experience that it brings back a feeling and memories much better than looking at photos when you've sat there and just observed what the buildings and stuff like that. I just realized that I wanted to just give these palm trees just a little highlight on this one side. Yeah. Sorry about all the banging and all that stuff. It's construction workers. So there you have it. Little sketch from Guadalajara. Wishing you happy painting and happy trails. And don't forget to bring your little sketchbook and just a few little supplies along with you, whether you're going for a little day hike or if you're going for a month-long trip.
I wish you happy painting, and I hope you have fun trying to do some little sketches yourself.